Okay, I think I'm ready. Got everything up here. So, before I go to the game, I would like to make a few words first. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that as June 2nd, this is now the second day of Pride Month. So, well, I don't know if it's Happy Pride Month exactly given everything else is going on, but I would like to say that, uh, forgive me, this is kind of off the cuff. I didn't exactly plan this until like 2 minutes before I was starting. But yeah, no matter your sexuality, I support, except for pedophiles. um, but yeah, so it's Pride Day. I would like to acknowledge that, especially given that I would call myself bisexual. I would like to give extra notice to bisexuals and bisexual erasure, just simply because it it's commonly forgotten amongst all the other differing sexualities. Um, Everybody knows gays, lesbians. Most people, I'm assuming, are familiar with pansexuals. Uh, I would like to put, but a lot of stuff out there seems to forget bisexuals because, again, I am one, and sometimes people don't think about the fact that, hey, like if a male is in love with a male who know it's kind of a matter of you don't know exactly what their sexuality is because you haven't checked out their personal history. So if you see somebody with a male, they could have been with a woman in the past. If you see somebody with a woman, they could have been with a man in the past. You don't know unless you specifically ask them. And a lot of people will just immediately assume that a bisexual will fall into one of those two categories based on the surface. So I just wanted to put that out there. Extra love to bisexuals. I stand in solidarity with all of them. And I also would like to point out, with regards to all the protests going on this weekend, I am in the Black Lives Matter camp. For the fact that, for those of you saying all lives matter, there's a whole bunch of points that I've seen. All lives can't matter until everybody matters equally. And right now, blacks are kind of towards the bottom of the pile. We need to help elevate the status of blacks and other people of color, for that matter, because there's also a lot of hate towards Muslims and the Middle Easterns uh, countries, and some of that is like, for me, it's a matter of, if you look at the data, there's a billion. Like, if you look at Muslims, on bit of a tangent here, but if you look at Muslims, there's a billion of them out there, and there's 100,000 of them that are in like those terrorist groups. Yeah, there shouldn't be that much discrimination. But yeah, specifically focusing though on the Black Lives Matter part, though, I have family members who are half black, and I can't even imagine the pain that my family would go through if one of them was shot or killed or was discriminated against by police in the same manner that I've been seeing out of the George Floyd incident and the protesters. And I know there's so many other names now that have been uh, that have been put out there during this time, and I'm not counting stuff like Trayvon Martin. I'm talking about stuff that's happened within like the past month. There's been at least 3 or 4 names going around besides George Floyd, or whatever his name is. I think it's George Floyd, that have been going around in the past month, and I can't imagine it. Like, I have a family that is mostly white on one side, and another one that probably could pass for white on the other side, and yeah, and some of them are have I have family members who are uh, half black because of marriage and kids and stuff like that, and I can't imagine the pain that my family would go through in any of those situations, and I really do not want to. um, and so that sort of discrimination needs to uh, Fish is actually putting it in a good way. All lives matter is something that is, because it's not up there on screen. All lives matter is something to strive for as humans, but before we can reach that point, we need to acknowledge and end the systemic racism that plagues our nation. So yeah, that's we need to do that, because otherwise, like, I have cousins, I have family members who are half black and are more frequently discriminated against with regards to jobs than like I am as a white male, and that needs to be acknowledged. That needs to be done about that. As a matter of fact, I went into industrial organizational psychology, which is looking at psychology of the workplace, how people work together, how to find people who are the best. And I will say that some of the reason that I went into that is, in relating this both to the Pride Month and the protests, it actually was because of discrimination towards those particularly vulnerable groups. Because we often will make immediate perceptions right off the top without actually looking at the qualifications. If you put two people if you put two people next to each other, and if you put three people next to each other, one of them is a white male, one of them is a white male who is also gay, and one of them who's a black male. Even if they have the same qualifications, most companies are more likely to choose the white male, who is straight. Part of the reason I went into industrial organizational psychology was to, hopefully, if I could get into an HR position, to help some more of those people get into the workplace, to hopefully not only to acknowledge the occasional stuff that I've grown up with, especially being in a mostly Republican family, prejudices that I might have grown up with, but also to hopefully fix some of that by giving back to these particular communities in some of my own fashion. So yeah, hopefully that ends up panning out. I don't know how exactly successful that will be. But yeah. All right, so now that that's out of the way, sorry to be a little heavy, but I think it needs to be said, especially in this time. And I wanted to get that out now because I am using this stream essentially as a way to take a break. Especially as having been inundated with the news as it's been lately. Especially at being on Twitter constantly and seeing all of the videos and all of the news reports and all the stuff about the people who are going in and causing chaos in these otherwise peaceful protests. I wanted to bring that up because it can't go unacknowledged. I cannot sit here and be like, nope, nothing's happening. I'm going to blank myself out. Even on a stream that is for me is supposed to be a break, it needs to be acknowledged. This can't be. This is the underlying causes that led to this are wrong. Okay. Now I think I've gotten it out of the way. I'm going to keep the rest of the stream mostly light as a break. It's going to be much like last time, so hopefully, yeah.